Mr. Squidward. Welcome to the night shift.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the night shift. Happy Thursday night to everybody out there. I hope everybody is having a great night and enjoyed some Thursday night football and all that. My name is Loro Antonio, filling in for Callan McClurg as host of the night shift. And I hope, Callan, that if you're watching, that I hope that I am keeping your seat warm on during your hiatus, and that when you come back, I'm looking forward to co-hosting this show with you. So we got a lot of topics to talk about tonight, as we're going to lead things off with the NFL segment, and we are going to recap first the New York Giants and Washington football team. I said game, so sorry about that, folks. So the Washington football team beat the New York Giants 30-29 on a game-winning field goal by Dustin Hopkins. I thought that this game was well played all around. The Washington defense played great, and the Giants defense made some costly plays. But with that being said, I'll give you my take right now. So Taylor Heinicke, the legend, continues, because I really think that Taylor Heinicke is a guy that really steps up in these moments. And with Ryan Fitzpatrick out, Taylor Heinicke had to step up and make the most of his opportunities, and he did so tonight. So we are going to have some comments in to talk about that game, but also Daniel Jones played great, but the play of the game for the Giants was when Darius Slayton got that touchdown pass. But also when he dropped a sure, wide-open touchdown, that was really a gut punch, because he could have had it. The Giants could have won that game. But in the fourth quarter of that game, the Washington defense stepped up when it had to, and they did its job today. So anyways, we got some comments here. So Brandon Herrera just left a comment there and said, just you, Loro Antonio? Yeah, because Isaiah's unavailable tonight. Callan is also unavailable. John was supposed to join me on this show tonight, but he is on assignment today, and he's also off. So I'm pretty much filling in for Callan as host. So thank you, Brandon Herrera, for tuning in. I will see you on the morning tailgate on Sunday. So anyways, I think the player of the game of that first Thursday night game of the season was Dustin Hopkins. He made some clutch kicks. Graham Gano did too. He did that against the Washington football team, and I thought that it was a well-played game, but the Giants' offensive line still remains an issue. And I just think that, and I picked the Giants to win this game just because of Joe Judge coming from the Bill Belichick coaching tree. And I also picked the Giants in this one because Daniel Jones had no excuses to thrive in year 3, and he always plays well against the Washington football team. And we'll go from there. So anyways, James Gonzalez just tuned in. Thank you, James, for tuning in. And he said, what's up? What's up? And he just also said, saw the highlights. Wow. Great game overall. I was actually calling that game on the ColorCast app, and I thought that it was like one of the most exciting games that I've called. I've been doing NFL games on the ColorCast app, and I've pretty much called a lot of great football games during that time. So anyways, folks, let's keep those comments coming in. So now let's talk about the next thing we're going to talk about on our agenda tonight is that the NFL just announced that they will be bringing back Hard Knocks and having it be an in-season version of Hard Knocks starting on November 27th, and that will be featuring the Indianapolis Colts. My thoughts on this is that I think that was a great move by the NFL. They usually do Hard Knocks in the preseason. They did that with the Dallas Cowboys, and I can't wait to see, and I'm more intrigued about what Frank Reich does in both the coach's room, the practice field, and also want to see him mic'd up in games because, like I said many times, is that Frank Reich is a quarterback guru. And I really think that he's going to really develop and resurrect Carson Wentz's career in Indianapolis. And I think that Carson Wentz came to the right place. And I just didn't think that Philly was just the right place for him because Doug Peterson didn't use him correctly. He called all the plays for him. But I just think with a Frank Reich-led offense, I think Carson Wentz is in the right situation. So another comment came in from James Gonzalez, and he said that the Washington kicker was so lucky. And I said, and I think, yes. So I thought that Dustin Hopkins played a great game. So did Graham Gano. I talked about that early in the show, but we'll also go from there. And also James Gonzalez said, sounds awesome. Interesting and wonder if Wentz will be healthy in November. Fingers crossed. Carson Wentz is healthy, but he did not have a good game his first time. And also, Isaiah Leon just chimed in and said, check your DM. And, Isaiah, I'm holding the fort down for Callan and them. So anyways, we got Big B. Brandon Herrera is about to join the show. And come on in, Brandon. And how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you, bud? I'm always glad to hop on when I can. So, talking a little Carson Wentz, huh?
Yes, I was just talking about some Carson Wentz and tonight's Thursday night game. Tell the audience what were your thoughts on tonight's game.
From what I saw, I thought it was a pretty good game. I do like Heineke. I think he can be a serviceable starting quarterback for a team like Washington. So, I'm not going to put him in the Hall of Fame like some people have already talked about, but, Washington and the Giants both had troubling years last year, had, so-so weeks, week one, so we'll see where it goes.
Yes, and then also talk about the Hard Knocks with the Indianapolis Colts when they begin filming from that on the 27th.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what they can cover or what they can't cover. I'm with you, though. I kind of want to see the coaches mic'd up, see what practice is like, see what, if we get a little insight on the war room or the game planning and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how different this is going to be from the preseason ones to the actual in-season ones. But I think NFL made the right call in adding this to their list of fun stuff they want to do, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got some more comments coming in. So Isaiah said, what's up, Loro? Thanks for holding down the fort here on the night shift. Sorry I can't be on. I hurt my finger. I hope your finger's healed up, Isaiah, and that we'll see you hopefully next Thursday night to talk about this. So anyways, James Gonzalez says that Taylor Heineke always seems to be close in games so far in his career. I'm like, I saw that. I saw what he could do last year, especially in the playoffs. He really makes the Washington football team involved in close games, and I thought that he played very well today.
Yeah, as long as he doesn't make the major mistakes and can manage the game, I think Washington will be a team to, reckon with a little bit, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So, I think that when Ryan Fitzpatrick comes back, he could definitely be the starter, and then you use Taylor Heineke as a gadget player.
No, I think if I was Washington, I'd probably use Heineke as my starter, and then I'd bring in Fitzpatrick, kind of like what Miami did with them. If the game is close, then bring in the veteran to kind of close it out. But I think right now Heineke's going to be your guy.
For now, yes. He probably will be taking advantage of this opportunity here. So also, James Gonzalez also said, Raiders should be on Hard Knocks, especially in the late months when things are going bad. That would be a drama-filled show. And I totally agree with that because I love seeing John Gruden mic'd up. And John Gruden is so fun to see mic'd up and also yelling at players and also yelling at the refs. And also,
Yeah, definitely drama would be the big seller there. You're exactly right, James.
And then Peguano and Friends says, hi, thank you for tuning in. And then James Gonzalez also said Daniel Jones was running free. He was running all over the place because the Washington defense really closed the pocket on him. And I thought that Daniel Jones was running for his life. And like I said, the Giants' offensive line is so bad that they can't really give Daniel Jones time to throw the football.
Yeah, especially with the defense like Washington, where they can put pressure on. If you ain't got a line that blocks them and you don't have that mobile quarterback like a Mahomes or a Lamar Jackson, it's going to be a long day for those quarterbacks.
It will be. So let's talk about next is which games on the NFL Week 2 slate are you most excited about? So I'm going to start off with saying that I'm more excited to see what Mac Jones and the Patriots do in his second game in the NFL, and that they're going to renew their rivalry this weekend against the New York Jets. And Zach Wilson, you don't want to underestimate him. I like this kid. He is great. He can throw the football, but the Jets' offensive line is kind of bad. But I just think that Zach Wilson's going to be running for his life. And I don't think that the Jets are going to give him a clean pocket, because I think the Patriots defense is going to be better than it was last in their last game against the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good matchup. I think to kind of see anybody that had a good week that we were counting out last week, like a Winston or Mac Jones or Lawrence, especially those rookie quarterbacks, to see what they could do in week 2. For me, it's to see how Winston can rebound after his slacking of the Packers, and also how my division goes. I mean, the NFC North was 0-4 last week, so I know the Monday night game is a Packers-Lions game, so somebody's got to win that one. So we at least got one victory, possibly. I mean, there could be a tie, but we'll see what happens with the North.
Yes, the NFC North is winless to begin the season. So let's go back to our comments section. So James Gonzalez says those fake handoffs were working for Jones to run free. They were most of the game. And then he thought that he got a touchdown, but it was called back because there was too many holding penalties on the Giants' offensive line. And then James Gonzalez was saying the Jets losing their key offensive lineman is going to hurt. Like,
yep.
To my point on that, Mekhi Becton is a big part of the Jets' offensive line because he protects the left side, and I think that the Jets' offensive line is right now a mess. But Vera Tucker, the left guard, I think he's going to step up big time in making sure that this offensive line is stable enough to make sure that Zach Wilson could throw the ball down the field and give him more protection.
Yeah, I mean, just like they said, the next person's got to step up and hold that line together when your leader of the line goes down. So hopefully they can hold it together and, they can get the quarterback play going.
They sure can, but James Gonzalez also says here the Chiefs-Ravens game is the game to look at. I am definitely looking forward to that game. Aside from myself calling the Patriots-Jets game on Colorcast on Sunday, this is the other game that I'm looking forward to the most calling in prime time. The Chiefs and Ravens, Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. I think that's going to be a great game.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we know what Mahomes can do. We know what Lamar can do, and if Lamar could get that passing game going, I think Ravens are going to be, trouble. But Mahomes and the weapons he's got right now, sky's the limit for those guys.
Yes, the sky is the limit, but I just think right now, I think the Chiefs are the better team. I think the Chiefs are going to win by like 2 or 3. But I just think that the Chiefs' offense is going to wear out Baltimore's defense. But also, when it comes to the Vikings, since they're 0-1, what do they need to do to get back to 500 ball in week 2?
Oh, they need to play better defense. I mean, that's plain and simple right there. They need to cut back on the flags. I think they had 12, and I think half of them, or if not more, were on the offense, false starts and holding. They got to cut back on that. I know Zim probably gave them a big lecture Sunday halftime after the game, probably all week. So they definitely got to do that. And then, like I said, the defense just has to step up. They got to, not miss an opportunity to get a sack or a pick or a fumble. And then the offense just has to be the offense and not make the mistakes. So, and the offensive line has to block. So.
Yes, the offensive line sure has to block, that's for sure. So back to our comment section here is that James Gonzalez says Saints-Panthers is a toss-up in my mind. I'm going to say here that I think the Saints defense is off to a fantastic start, but I think Carolina's offense is fun and exciting with Sam Darnold and Christian McCaffrey. And what are your thoughts on that, Big B?
Well, if Winston does what he did the first week and throws 5 touchdowns and 160 yards, I mean, he's got to do more passing. But if he can, get 3 to 4 touchdowns a game, Saints are going to be a hard team to beat. And we all question Winston's play. And, I mean, 160 yards plus ain't that big of a deal for quarterbacks. I mean, that's nothing. So, he can't rely on the small touchdowns all the time. But, I mean, I know they got a tough running game. And they got Hill that can do a little bit of everything. So I think it'll be a good game. But I'm still gonna kind of take the Saints on that one.
Yeah, I gotta take the Saints in this one, but I feel like that the Panthers are gonna play hard in their home opener. So, anyways, James Gonzalez also says no way the Raiders beat the Steelers. Jinx. I'm like, I think that could be a big upset there. I think that the Raiders offense could really wear out that high-powered Steelers defense because of Carr and Josh Jacobs and Henry Ruggs and Darren Waller. I think that's the key to beating the Steelers. And then James Gonzalez said, sorry, Big B. I called that Bengals upset last week. He had a feeling. So do you have any thoughts on that?
Sad thing is I had the same feeling you did too, but if you watch the morning tailgate, me and the Sarge, I know Sarge was more or less joking, but I was more serious that it would not have surprised me if the game was close and it ended in a tie, and I was 4 seconds away from that. So we'll see, but no reason to be sorry, James. I mean, you got to bet who you bet, and trust me, I had Bengals picked up until I turned in my picks at work, and then I changed it to the Vikings. So.
All right, so we want to welcome the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong. I was surprised that I didn't even think that you were going to be on, Isaiah. So, Isaiah, how's your finger feeling, and how are you doing tonight, my friend?
My finger is better than it was a couple of hours ago. But man, like I did something stupid. I think we've all done some stupid stuff in the past. I was trying to be Aaron Judge and catch a fly ball with my bare hands. So I threw a baseball high in the air and I went up to catch it. It hits my finger right on the bone and I'm like throbbing in pain, but it feels better.
You caught a ball with bare hands, really?
I tried to catch a ball.
No, Aaron Judd did?
Well, no, he didn't catch it with his bare hands.
Oh.
But I didn't have a baseball glove on me. So I was like, let me just throw it up in the air and see what I can do. But I never do that ever, guys.
I know you guys are a little younger, but you guys got to go find the Kevin Mitchell clip when he caught it barehanded in the outfield. So
Yeah.
I
was trying to be him, but I failed miserably. And thankfully, no severe damage happened to my finger, but it's feeling better and happy to be on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think you were going to be on. I didn't know how long you were going to take at the doctor's office, so we're going to go back to our comment section. So James Gonzalez says Bengals always get ties or close to, it seems. And the Bengals have a better offense this year, but I think their defense remains a question mark. But James Gonzalez says, give us the middle finger, Isaiah. Do you have anything to say about that?
No, I'm not going to do that on the show because if I do, this program will be flagged.
All right. So, anyways, since you're just joining us, Isaiah, what were your thoughts on the Thursday night game between the Giants and the Washington football team?
Well, I couldn't really watch it because when I was waiting at the doctor's office to get my finger checked out, they didn't have the game on the TVs. I don't know why Kaiser had CNN on, so I was busy watching the news than watching the Thursday night football games. But from what I gathered and from watching the highlights, it was a great game. It was an insane ending. The Giants. I think the Giants hurt themselves and they killed themselves in the end because they had so many opportunities to run away with this game, especially early. Daniel Jones had that touchdown run that got called back because of a penalty, and then they had another one where he throws it right to, I believe, Slayton, and the ball just bounces off his fingertips, just like what happened to Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. And then you had another one where the Washington football team, they're going for a game-winning field goal, and they missed the field goal on the first drive, but Dexter Lawrence is offside. So the Giants lost this game because they just killed themselves with just stupid mistakes, stupid penalties, and just not being able to make the easy plays that you have to be able to make in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those were good points there. I thought that Taylor Heineke was the hero again, and his legacy continues in making big comebacks. And I think he's going to step up big time in Ryan Fitzpatrick's absence. So, anyways, what were your thoughts about the Colts getting getting to be on HBO Hard Knocks beginning on November 27th?
I'm surprised, not because it's the Colts, but just surprised in general that they are doing HBO Hard Knocks in season. Because I know a lot of the teams in the NFL, they want to keep their stuff a secret. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I want to see how it plays out with the Colts. Are the Colts going to reveal any secret game plans that opposing offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and head coaches can just watch Hard Knocks and just steal their game plans from them? I don't know if they're going to do that, or we'll see some meetings and stuff like that. But I am really interested to see how coaches run practice, like Frank Reich, how he does. I hope they are mic'd up for practices and stuff like that, and maybe coaches meetings. Like, those are some stuff that you never ever get to see. And maybe because I think at that time it's going to be close to the trade deadline, so I want to see how Coach GM Chris Ballard is able to navigate that trade deadline and the calls that he's making to other general managers and stuff like that. Like, that's the stuff that I really want to see. But I don't know how it's going to go over with other teams, though, because I know some teams, they might be hesitant to sign up just based on the fact that they don't want to give all their secrets out, and this show could potentially be a show where you're basically giving your secrets away for free.
Oh, absolutely. I'm also excited to see what Frank Reich does with when he's mic'd up. I think Frank Reich's a quarterback genius, and I think that he's going to make sure that Carson Wentz gets his career resurrected in Indianapolis. So now I want to get your take here. So which week 2 game are you excited about? And then after that, then we're going to make our picks for Sunday Night Football and Monday Night Football as well.
Well, the games that I'm looking forward to is, first of all, my Niners versus the Eagles, because I think that could be an upset game. I could definitely see the Eagles beating the 49ers because the 49ers were terrible against the run on Sunday against the Lions. Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, they were just gashing the Niners left and right in that game. And if the Lions had a more mobile quarterback, I think they even stack up even more yards in the rushing department. But thankfully they didn't, because Jared Goff's not mobile at all. But now with Jalen Hurts, he's a different animal. He can definitely beat you with his feet. They have Miles Sanders. So those two guys I'm really, really worried about. And that Eagles defense, they're not that bad. They're not that bad at all. And I would be interested to see how Jimmy G and that offense plays in that game, going up against an Eagles defensive line that I think is more ferocious than the Lions defensive line. So that's one of the games that I'm looking forward to. The other ones are, Chiefs Ravens, the Sunday night game, because Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. I want to see those two go head to head once again. And I would say the last one, it's got to be I'm gonna say the Saints and the Panthers, just like James, because the Saints Panthers game, it's always close, no matter if one team is really good and one team is really bad. And I think Matt Rue and Sam Darnold have the Panthers playing some really good football, and you have Joe Brady going up against his former team that he started with. So it'll be interesting to see, the play calls and the offensive plays that he dials up against his former team.
It is going to be interesting, but do you think that the Saints will win that game, Isaiah?
I think it's going to be a close game. But I don't know, because sometimes, like, it depends what Jameis Winston you have. Is it going to be the Jameis Winston, like Big B said, against the Packers where he throws 5 touchdowns, or is it going to be the Jameis Winston that was with Tampa Bay and threw like 30 plus interceptions? So it all depends on the Jameis Winston that we get on Sunday.
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right about that. So I want to get your thoughts on this. Are you excited to see what Mac Jones and the Patriots do against Zach Wilson and the Jets?
I am. I am. 2 young rookie quarterbacks going at it. Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson. I think the Patriots will be able to get after it against Zach Wilson because the Jets' offensive line is not that good. And also, I think the Patriots will be able to thrive against that Jets defense, because even though Robert Saleh is a really good defensive coach, I just don't see the Jets defense putting up that much fight, since that Jets defense, which was already not that good, they lost Carl Lawson and other guys on that defense for the remainder of the season. So I think Mac Jones is going to have a really good day against the New York Jets.
He should, but I don't want to underestimate Zach Wilson. What type of game would you expect from Zach Wilson? I'm excited to see what he could do, because I get to see him go up against my team.
I don't think he's going to have that great of a game, honestly, because I think that, Bill Belichick, when he goes up against rookie quarterbacks, he always dominates them because he's a really great defensive mind. And rookie quarterbacks, they just don't know how to figure out the complex defenses that Bill Belichick throws at them. So I don't think he's going to have that great of a game. Plus, that offensive line that he has is not that good. And I think the Patriots, they're going to put a lot of pressure on him. So I think he's going to get sacked a lot. I think he's going to be running around a lot. And I think he's gonna have like 1 touchdown and maybe a couple of interceptions.
Probably, but I think Zach Wilson's going to be throwing the ball downfield, that's for sure. So now let's talk about another game that it's going to be interesting, is Carson Wentz versus Matthew Stafford. So Big B, Brandon, what are your thoughts on that game? And do you think that Carson Wentz gets the victory, or do you think the Rams go 2-0?
Ooh, man, that is a tough one. Man, after what the Rams did, I know it was against the Bears, and the Bears are kind of rebuilding. I got to see Stafford play, 2 times every year since he's been in the league, and he's always scared us. And you can talk to anybody else that's in the league, Adam that fills in for you guys. He said the same thing. So I gotta go with the Rams. I mean, he's got the weapons, he's got the defense. So he might not put up the numbers like he did. I think he had almost a near perfect rating against the Bears this past week, but it wouldn't shock me if he does it again. So I like Wentz. I think he's going to be, serviceable there, and as long as he stays healthy, he'll probably be in the MVP category considerations. But I just think the Rams right now are, they're going to fly high after their week 1 win. I think Stafford's going to be the real deal.
And what about you, Isaiah? What do you think about that matchup between the Rams and the Colts in Indianapolis?
I think it's going to be more closer than the Bears-Rams game, just because I think that the Colts defense is going to be better than what the Bears showed on Sunday night against the Los Angeles Rams. I don't think you're going to see, open guys on the Rams on the Rams offense, pretty much like every possession of the Rams had the footballs. But I'm going to go with the Rams, but I think the defense for the Colts will put up, good pressure against Matthew Stafford. And I think he kind of struggles a little bit in that game, but I think they're still going to manage to pull it out, just because I don't trust Carson Wentz. And I think that the Rams defense are going to have a field day going up against Carson Wentz in that Colts offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point that you brought up there. I think that it's going to be a battle of which defense is going to make that stop. So I picked the Rams in this one too, but it's not going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. So talk about the Chargers taking on the Cowboys. So my question for you all is, so I'm going to start with Big B on this one. Do you think the Cowboys start off 0-2?
Yes. Yep. I think I don't know if it's just too much ego there and the too much cash and they don't have enough backups. I think the Chargers are up and coming. I think they're going to be a tough team. It won't shock me if they go 0-2 to start off the season. So, and then we'll probably hear Jones start chirping about how his team is and don't count them out yet and all that. But yeah, I think they're going to start 0-2.
And Isaiah, what about you? Do you think the Cowboys start off 0-2 against Herbert and the Chargers?
Yes, sir. I'm picking the Chargers in this game because the Cowboys' defense, which was already weak, and you saw that last week against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, they didn't really put up that much pressure against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Justin Herbert's going to have all day to throw the football since their pass rusher was already weak, and they just lost DeMarcus Lawrence for like the foreseeable future with that broken leg injury that he suffered during practice. So I think that the defense is going to be a big, big problem in that game for the Cowboys. I think Justin Herbert's going to be able to shred that Cowboys defense. I think it's going to come down to, who gets like a couple of stops, because the Cowboys defense, I think, is going to struggle mightily. The Chargers defense, which is way better than the Cowboys defense, but I think they're going to struggle as well because that Dallas offense is electric. I think it's going to be more of a shootout, and it's going to come down to who can get a couple of stops to win this game. And I think the Chargers with Joey Bosa and those guys are going to be able to get those couple of stops at the end of the game to win that game.
I agree 100%. So Isaiah, can you dive deep more into the Niners and Eagles game? I picked the Eagles to win this game just because I feel like that the Eagles played great against Atlanta. I could see the Eagles going off to a surprising 2-0 start because I really think Jalen Hurts is the real deal in Philly. So, Isaiah, what about you?
It's tough because, the Niners, they just lost Drake Greenlaw for the next 6 to 8 weeks with an injury that he suffered during practice. Like, I don't know why a lot of these guys are suffering like injuries during practice. Like, you've never seen it before. Now you're seeing it in back-to-back weeks. But Greenlaw was a huge part of the Niners defense next to Fred Warner, and now he's going to be out. And the run defense was already awful, like we saw in Detroit, and now it's probably going to be even worse with the loss of Drake Greenlaw. So I think Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders will be able to gash the Niners just like Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift did. But I think Jimmy G and a loaded Niners offense will be able to put a lot of points against Philadelphia just because Kyle Shanahan, when you look at his history going up against Philadelphia, he's always victimized them with that quick passing game and the running game as well. I know Mostert's not there, but Elijah Mitchell looked really good last week against the Lions. So I'm going to go with the Niners, but I'm going to go with a close game. And I say the Niners win this game, I would say 27-24.
Absolutely. But I picked the Eagles in this one. Big B, who's your pick to win between the Eagles and 49ers?
Well, I think James said it the best. I think this is going to be a good test for Hurts and against San Fran's defense, no matter if they're fully healthy. I mean, San Fran does have a pretty decent defense, but outside of that, I think I'm going to have to fly high with the Eagles. I think Hurts and, we're going to call them the Hurt business, I guess, and I think they're going to fly high over the Niners.
Absolutely, Big B. So anyways, let's go on and talk about your game, Brandon. The Minnesota Vikings taking on the Arizona Cardinals. I'm going to say I picked the Cardinals to win this game. I think Kyler Murray and that offense is going to trounce on that Minnesota defense. Big B, who do you want in this one and why?
Who do I want in this one? I mean, it should be obvious, but, it's tough because Minnesota is like a Jekyll and Hyde. They're bad 1 week or 2 weeks, and then they come out and they'll throw 3 perfect games together, and then they'll fall down a game. I really want to say that Minnesota's going to rebound and take it to the Cardinals, and it's going to be close, but I don't know. I don't see the Cardinals, another bird team I think the Cardinals are going to fly high. I think, it might not be a whooping, but, if Minnesota can stop them, great. It might be a close game, but it would not surprise me if this game's a 14 to 20 point spread here. So in the Cardinals' favor. So.
And what about you, Isaiah?
I think it's going to be a shootout because I think, Arizona's defense, was really good against Tennessee, but I want to see Chandler Jones and all those guys have that same performance against Minnesota before, I say, the Cardinals defense is for real. But, Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, that offense going up against Kyler Murray and that offense that can put up points, I think it's going to be a shootout. And I'm going to say Arizona wins it just because Minnesota, like Brandon says, they're inconsistent. You don't know, what they're going to do. 1 week they're this, and then the next week they're that. So I'm going to pick Arizona, and I'm going to say Arizona by a touchdown.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that could be the case here. So we're going to go back to our comments section. So James Gonzalez says he wants the LA Rams in a route, but he did say that he wanted that. But he did say, but it's probably not. And he also said that the Dallas Cowboys will play down to their competition this Sunday. I totally agree. Yep. But if they can't beat the Chargers, I don't see them beating the Eagles next week.
Yeah.
If they start 0-2 or 0-3, man, you're going to start hearing the Mike McCarthy fired rumors, because he was already on the hot seat to start this season, and it's going to just keep getting louder and louder and louder.
And do you think that Stephen A. Smith is going to keep laughing? Because I think that if the Cowboys start off 0-4, I think that's going to be the best case scenario right there.
Anytime the Cowboy loses, he always laughs. So definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
And James Gonzalez says it's a Cowboy game. It's a Cowboy home game, by the way. And I'm like, it can be, but it's going to be a full house of LA Chargers fans. And he also said that Herbert will shred the Dallas D. Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. And then James Gonzalez also said that this will be a great test for Jalen Hurts versus that 49er D. I agree with that. And James Gonzalez also said that I like Arizona to dominate this Sunday. I totally agree with all those comments here.
Yeah, so I can't argue with that last one.
So we did picks for the Patriots, Jets, Eagles, and 49ers, LA Rams versus Colts, LA Chargers, Cowboys, and then Vikings, Cardinals. So let's talk about Sunday Night Football and what to expect there. So we'll start with our game picks before we talk about their keys to the game here. So I'm going to pick the Kansas City Chiefs by a field goal. Harrison Butker is going to kick the game-winning field goal in overtime. Or I could also see Mahomes running it in for a touchdown in overtime to win the game on the first possession of the game. So I picked the Chiefs to win because I think Patrick Mahomes always dominates against Lamar Jackson. But I think the Ravens and Chiefs will have a very, very good game, and it's going to be a very close contest. Isaiah, who's your pick to win between the Chiefs and the Ravens, and why?
Well, I'm going to go with the Chiefs, but I don't think it's going to be that close because Lamar Jackson always struggles against that Kansas City defense, and that was with a competent offensive line. And now you saw today their offensive line was already not that good, and their offensive line was already short. And now today there's reports that Ronnie Stanley's going to be out because I think he either tested positive for COVID or he suffered an injury during practice or something like that. So one of their best tackles, he's going to be missing. And their tackles were atrocious last week against the Las Vegas Raiders. So I think that Kansas City defense is going to have a field day against Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense. As far as the Ravens defense is concerned, they can only do so much. They can only, stay on the field for so much and have success before it breaks because they're on the field for too long. And I think that's what's going to happen, that they're just going to be keeping on the field because the Ravens offense isn't going to be effective against that Kansas City defense. And I think that the Chiefs, I will say they're going to run away with it. I think they win this game by at least 2 touchdowns.
I totally agree with that 100% here. So, Big B, who is your pick to win between the Chiefs and Ravens, and why?
Well, if the Ravens can do what Tampa did to them in the Super Bowl, I don't think Kansas City is going to lose this game. So you got to put the pressure on like Tampa Bay did, but I can see it being a close game. I can see it coming down to the last drive or, even a pick six, for Kansas City to win. So I'm going to go Kansas City in a close one.
That's a good call there, but I predict it's going to be a close one, but Isaiah think it's going to be somewhat of a blowout. So what do you want to see in this game for both teams? But what I want to see if the Chiefs were to win, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to be gunning that ball down the field, throwing it to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. And if the Ravens were to win, Lamar Jackson's got to get Sammy Watkins more involved in the passing game. If Rashad Bateman is healthy, you got to get him involved. Marquise Brown, you got to get him involved. Latavius Murray is good, but I just feel like that the rushing Lamar Jackson's going to be leading the Ravens in rushing. So, Isaiah, what are your keys to the game on Sunday night between the Ravens and the Chiefs?
I think the Chiefs are going to stack the box because they know the Ravens, they rely heavily on the rushing attack. So they're going to stack the box and make the Ravens beat the Chiefs with their passing attack. And I think with that pass rush coming at Lamar Jackson, he's going to have to get the ball out quick. He's going to have to get the ball out quick to have any chance of, not getting sacked. So he's got to get the ball out quick. I think that he has to get his wide receivers involved early because if you have a successful passing game, you're going to be able to run the ball effectively. So that's what the Ravens, I think, need to do. And for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, just keep slinging the football down the field because it seems like every time they do it, they have success.
And Brandon, what are your keys to that game between the Chiefs and the Ravens?
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to stack the box like Isaiah said. If the Ravens win, Lamar's going to have to pass it. He's going to have to get 300 plus yards and some touchdowns and not turn the ball over. And again, Kansas City, they just got to do what they got to do and keep slinging the ball, playing schoolyard football because it seems like that's all they do is just go out there and draw up those schoolyard plays. Just go deep and I'll throw it up there. So,
yeah, absolutely. That's what they got to do. And I think Kansas City will take advantage of that. And I do think the Chiefs are going to start off 2-0. Lamar Jackson loves playing in September. So anyway, I meant Mahomes, sorry. So anyways, let's talk about Monday Night Football. So I picked the Green Bay Packers because Aaron Rodgers is going to shake off that rust. And I do feel like that he's going to show everybody why I think he's going to remain in Green Bay next season after all that offseason drama. Because I think the fans are going to stand behind him in Lambeau Field. John has gotten to me at this because he doesn't think Aaron Rodgers is going to stay. I have my opinions, and I do think that Aaron Rodgers will get that fixed with the front office and that he will remain a Green Bay Packer. Isaiah, who's your pick to win in this game and why?
I'm going to pick the Green Bay Packers, but if the Lions win this game, then I'm all in on Aaron Rodgers throwing this season away because there's no way if you lose to the sorry Lions and you throw like 4 to 5 or 3 to 4 interceptions in this football game against a team that in a span of 6 possessions gave up 5 touchdowns and a field goal to the 49ers offense last Sunday, then you're obviously not trying and throwing the season away. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to have a bounce-back game. I think he's heard all the noise from this past week. He has to have a bounce-back game because you know that if he doesn't and he struggles mightily like against the Saints, then, yeah, he's definitely throwing the season away.
And what about you, Big B?
It's tough for me to even think that a pro athlete's going to throw a season away, but the way he looked on Sunday, I know they're at home against the Lions, but if he has any type of game that he did last week again, then you're going to see Love, and that's who I think the Packers are going to win behind is Love. So I think it's going to be a close game, and I really hope that because he's on my fantasy team, Rodgers is so.
Mine's too.
But yeah, but the thing is I just think after watching him week 1, if he has another performance like that, Packer fans are going to boo him out of the stadium. So he better hope he has a bounce back game. But it would not shock me if he has another bad game and we see Love and then Love gets his first victory. So.
All right. So anyways, back to our comment section. James Gonzalez also says the Chiefs by 10 or more. I totally agree with that, but it could go either way because both quarterbacks are very dynamic. And he also said, if the Packers lose to Detroit, look out.
Oh, yeah, look out. He is no lying there.
He's going to be the most hated man in Green Bay. I guarantee you that if they lose to Detroit.
Oh, if he plays anywhere near to what he played in week 1, he's going to be the most hated man.
Ooh. Not even just Green Bay, in the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, let's go move on to our college football segment. So, Dan Patrick reports that Penn State coach James Franklin and USC have mutual interest. Do you like, love, or hate the possibility of James Franklin going to USC? I'm going to go first, and I'm going to say absolutely not. I think James Franklin is going to build a strong program at Penn State, and I really think that Coach Franklin is definitely not on the hot seat at Penn State for sure. So my choice to coach USC is Jack Del Rio. So what about you, Big B?
One thing with coaches is a lot of it is money talks. They got a lot of buyouts in their contracts. But a coach that's building something, I'd like to see him stay there. So him building something in Penn State, I hope he does stay. I mean, I know he's in the Big Ten with my Gophers, who also PJ Fleck has been talked about getting that job or being a candidate for it. And, to me, I don't know what he's done in Minnesota that makes him to be a candidate right now, except for that he's young and he's got that high-powered enthusiasm and he runs out with the team and stuff like that. But, coaches, I think if they're building something and not nowhere near the hot seat or their contract's up, I think it's good for them to come out and say, hey, I'm not going anywhere. I'm building what I got here. And Loro, your Del Rio take, spot on. I mean, somebody threw that up on another show I was on, and I'm like, wow, is he even still coaching? So I wouldn't mind seeing Del Rio there. Another guy, maybe a long shot, Mike Singletary. I don't know if he has any interest in coaching anymore, but ever since he left San Francisco, I don't know what happened to him, if he's just not coaching or nobody has interest in him, but he built something in San Fran, so it definitely will be a job looking forward to. Urban Meyer's already said has no interest in leaving Jacksonville, so we can check him off the list already. So
Isaiah, do you like the possibility of James Franklin leaving Penn State to go to USC? I said that I don't think James Franklin would do that. I think James Franklin will remain at Penn State.
I do like it, actually, but he wouldn't be my first option because I think that what USC needs is a proven head coach that has shined on the biggest stage and has been to big markets and has won it. They need to swing for the fences here. You can't be going for like a guy that's an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator or like someone that's coached at a lower school, because you have to have a guy that can come in and change the culture of that program and recruit at a high level, because right now you have Oregon, and Oregon's stealing a lot of those top recruits in LA to go play in Eugene, Oregon. So that has to stop. And I think that you have to hire like a big name coach if you're USC. That's why the choices that I want is, Urban Meyer would be a great fit, but I don't think he's ever going to go to USC because he just started in the NFL. Bob Stoops would be a great choice, in my opinion, because he's won a national championship at Oklahoma. Plus, he's a big name. Recruits are going to gravitate towards him. Jack Del Rio is the guy that I'm gunning for since, he's a USC alum. He knows what that program is all about. And also, he's a guy that is hard-nosed, no nonsense. He's a disciplinarian. He's a guy that can change cultures. I mean, just look what he did with the Raiders. I mean, that guy made the Raiders from a laughingstock to a playoff team in 2 years. So I think he would be great for USC. And I would say James Franklin would be on my list, but he would be like number 3 or number 4 with Chris Peterson as well as David Shaw, the coach of Stanford, as those guys that I would definitely go after. But if you're a USC, you got to swing big. I would call, in addition to the names that I named, I would definitely try to call, Kirby Smart of Georgia. I don't think he's going to leave, but you got to place that call in. You got to also try to place calls into, just some of the biggest names and just place the calls in, because you gotta hit a home run with this hire. You cannot afford to swing and miss like you did with Clay Helton once again.
Absolutely. That's why I want Jack Del Rio to get the USC job, because I think that he would bring toughness, discipline, and he's not a coach that messes around. He's a guy that's going to develop very good football teams and make this USC football program to prepare for the pros, and he can really develop those kids into NFL stars. So anyways, we're going to go back to our comments section. James Gonzalez also says, I don't like James Franklin personally. I just think, in my opinion, I think he's better at Penn State. And he also said and added that USC needs a wild new identity, because USC is sick of losing. I want to see USC be that football school that we all know. So, and the MI6 network also says, how about Eric Bieniemy? There are reports that he's their top target. I'm like, Eric Bieniemy's been an offensive coordinator for the Chiefs for this long, and a lot of people are like, does he call plays for Patrick Mahomes? No, it's Andy Reid. A lot of people on the Chiefs are like, Eric Bieniemy should be a head coach. Even Patrick Mahomes really wants Eric Bieniemy to be a head coach. So what do you think, Isaiah? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Like I said yesterday on No BS, no disrespect to Eric Bieniemy. I hope he does get a head coaching job, because he's been passed over so much for many head coaching jobs in the NFL. But this would be a gamble, because you've seen like a lot of these hot name offensive coordinators or defensive coordinators go to the head coaching role, and they just completely flame out. I mean, look at Adam Gase. That guy was one of the hottest names like 6-7 years ago because of Peyton Manning. He goes to the head coaching role, and then he just completely flames out. So USC cannot afford to take a gamble. I hope Eric Bieniemy gets a job somewhere like in the NFL, but I think that you need a proven commodity at the head coaching position. If you're USC, you cannot afford to take a gamble on Eric Bieniemy, because he could boom, but he also could bust. And then if he busts, you're back right here at square one once again, 3-4 years ago, right where you started.
Absolutely. So also, we're gonna talk about Scott Frost. So a Scott Frost firing could be imminent at Nebraska if the Cornhuskers don't turn things around. Do you think Nebraska should give Frost more leash and more time, or is it truly a make or break time for him? So I have nothing to say about that, but I might say that it could be a make or break time for Scott Frost if Nebraska doesn't get into the right direction. That's all I can say about that. So Isaiah, what do you think?
It's really tough, since I really like Scott Frost. I think he's a really good coach. He was the coach at UCF when they were undefeated, and he was really one of the big names out there on the coaching market. But I think it is make or break for him, because you're in your fourth season now. You've had 2 years of your own recruits at Nebraska, and when you walked into Nebraska, they weren't really that bad. They were bad, but they weren't as bad as what they are now, and they really haven't had that much progress at Nebraska. You lost to Illinois, a team that just has a new head coach, and they were awful last season, so that's inexcusable. And your quarterback has been trending downwards ever since he started in your first year at Nebraska. You were supposed to be a quarterback guru, so how are you a quarterback guru and your quarterback is going down in like all the years that he's been the starter at Nebraska? Plus, I think there's reports that they were having some illegal recruiting stuff that going on, like they were sneaking recruits in during the COVID pause when you weren't supposed to be sneaking recruits in. So he could get in trouble for that. They could get sanctioned and stuff like that. So I definitely believe that it is a make or break year for him. If he doesn't, make a bowl game at least. I'm not saying win the Big Ten, but if he doesn't make the bowl game, I definitely could see that he's out, because even though he's a Nebraska guy, he went to Nebraska, that's his alma mater, at the end of the day, it's about winning or losing, and he's had like 4 years already.
Yeah, it could happen. He could be fired if Nebraska keeps losing. So, Big B, what are your takes on that?
Yeah, it's all show me now. 4 years, so you got your first. This is probably your first year with your full recruiting class. You don't have no leftovers. If you do, you have a few of them. But again, that college rule where players can leave and not have to sit out a year. It's kind of hurting a lot of teams, especially if they think they're better. So Nebraska's been a team up and down. Yeah, if they're losing, I can see a new change. James said that's another team too that needs a new identity and going forward. And the Big Ten is not an easy division to recruit and win in because you got some powerhouses. You got Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan, just to name four of them. And you got to recruit against all of them. And it's hard to be like, oh, you could go to Ohio State or you could come to Nebraska or Minnesota. Well, Ohio State, we know what kind of team they are. So they gotta change up the recruiting class. So we'll see where it goes. But yeah, they keeps losing. He'll be out sooner than later.
All right. So, anyways, now let's go on to talk about some college football games on Saturday. So I'm going to start with the game that I'm more intrigued about. But Alabama, that's my college football team going up against the Florida Gators. Both teams are 2-0 in both divisions in the SEC. So I'm going to pick Alabama to win by 3. I think Bryce Young is going to have another big game. Isaiah, who's your pick to win between the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Florida Gators? And who do you like in this matchup and why?
To be honest, Loro, I think Bryce Young's going to get rattled because it's his first road start. He's going into Gainesville, and we both know that going into Gainesville is not a easy environment to play in because you got 110,000 Gator fans that are going to be rocking that stadium, and it's going to be super loud. So I expect Bryce Young to actually struggle in that game because of the environment and because Florida's defense is not bad. But, I'm going to pick Bama just because I think they're the better football team, but I would not be shocked if it's a close game, especially in the beginning, if Florida has the lead, since they're going to feed off that home crowd, that home crowd is going to be sold out. They're going to be into it, but I think that Bama's going to rally and show their championship medal and be able to come in and pull that game off.
Absolutely. What about you, Big Ben? Big B?
It's tough. I mean, Bama's been so good for so long, and people that don't root for Bama root against them. You want to see them take a falter here before the playoffs start. I mean, I know we're just a couple weeks into the regular season, but the old saying, if you're not with the Gators, you're Gator bait. So I got to go with the underdog. I think it's going to be close, but I really hope the Gators take it.
Wow.
Maybe so. That could definitely happen. So now we'll talk about one of favorite Isaiah's of college football teams. Let's talk about Michigan taking on Northern Illinois. I'm going to go first in this one. I'm going to take the 25th ranked Michigan. I think the Michigan Wolverines are going to continue their winning ways, and then they'll be ready to go and ready to roll as they'll start conference play next week. What about you, Isaiah?
I think Michigan rolls Northern Illinois. I mean, they look really, really good to start the season. The defense looks improved. The running game looks really, really dynamic. And Northern Illinois, they are 1-1. They're going into the big house to play Michigan. It's just a very daunting task. Give me Michigan in this game, and I think they win by at least 3 touchdowns.
And what about you, Big B?
Yeah, as much as I kind of want to see the Michigan Wolverines lose, I kind of grew up watching them a little bit because, Gophers back when I was younger weren't the greatest. So we always got Michigan football and Irish football. I think Michigan's the team. I mean, they should rout them pretty bad. They're going into the big house, and, it's tough to play in that big house. So I take Michigan probably double-digit wins. And if they lose, Harbaugh, you're going to be on a hotter seat than anything.
All right. So, anyways, now we're going to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs taking on South Carolina. Isaiah would want me to talk about that. So, anyways, JT Daniels is looking to continue his hot streak because the Georgia Bulldogs are 2-0, just like the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think the Georgia Bulldogs will rout South Carolina. Isaiah, I know you're gonna be singing the Georgia fight song. So, who's your pick to win between Georgia and South Carolina?
I think Georgia routs them because South Carolina has not looked impressive in their 2 games that they've played. Plus, Georgia's defense is for real. Their defense, like they went in and shut down Clemson. They only gave up 3 points to that Clemson Tigers football team, who was expected to be in the college football playoffs. So that defense might be Kirby Smart's best defense that he's ever had at the University of Georgia. Now, I think JT Daniels is going to be back for that football game. And also to make matters worse for the Gamecocks, their quarterback might be out for that game against Georgia. So good luck with a backup quarterback going up against that ferocious Georgia defense. Give me Georgia in a blowout against South Carolina.
And what about you, Big B?
Yeah, as much as I want to rag on Isaiah's teams here, but when it comes to football, typically your favorites win. You get an upset here or there, but the Bulldogs. Yeah, it should be a rout. Anything less than that, I guess you could chalk up a win for, South Carolina, but it should be a blowout.
Definitely. So now we'll talk about USC going up against Washington State. This is their first game with their interim head coach. So, Isaiah, do you know anything about the interim coach, and what do you think you should expect out of USC in their first game with their interim coach?
I know that he's a high-energy guy, a great recruiter, but that's like he doesn't call any plays or anything like that. He's a defensive backs coach. So, about this game, Loro, I'm probably going to go with the upset, honestly. I'm going to go with Washington State just because they're at home. Nick Rolovich and that offense seems to start rolling now after their struggles against Utah State. I know they played Portland State, and Portland State is not, a FBS Division I school, but still, that offense seemed to have gotten back on track with Jaden Delora at quarterback. And that USC team, they're reeling right now. They're in a lot of turmoil. Coach just got fired. Defense got completely embarrassed against a Stanford team that only put up 7 points against Kansas State and was playing a slow-tempo football game. So now you play a team that plays the up-tempo, high-flying passing attack and the air raid or the run-and-shoot offense that Nick Rolovich runs at Washington State. I would not be surprised if USC gives up at least 35 to 40 points with how pathetic that defense played on Saturday. Plus the reeling new coach comes in. These are the types of moments that could either get the team to rally together and, go on a big run. But more often than not, you see a lot of these teams that fire their coach, they just go downhill from there.
And what about you, baby?
I think we're going to see USC have a bounce-back game. I think they're going to do some new things. I mean, there's no film on the interim coach and how he game plans, so who knows? I mean, this could be a battle. It could be a close game, but I'll take USC.
Yeah, I mean, USC is going to definitely want to shake off that game last week against Stanford, and I think that game was inexcusable. And that USC should have won that game, and that really cost Clay Helton's job. That's for sure. So on to our final college football game. We're going to talk about UCLA going up against Fresno State. I love Chip Kelly and that high-octane offense that he runs. I don't think he's on the hot seat if it all means. I think that the problem with UCLA is about being a better recruiting school for football, but I think Chip Kelly is the right fit for UCLA and that offense, but they just got to play defense. I have UCLA beating Fresno State in a rout, and then I think UCLA is going to continue winning ball games, and I think that they'll be ready to play within their conference starting next Saturday. What about you, Isaiah?
I'm going to go with UCLA as well, just because I think that UCLA, their offense is rolling now. Fresno State had trouble stopping Oregon in Oregon, but, Oregon's a really dynamic team, so I don't really fault them for that. But I just think UCLA, they're more talented than Fresno State. They should beat Fresno State. If they lose to Fresno State, then it's going to be a big problem for Chip Kelly. But I expect them their offense definitely to roll Fresno State, since I don't really trust that Fresno State defense. Their offense is good, but their defense is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen, but I think UCLA is going to. I think UCLA is going to be better this year, and I think they're going to start competing again and become a good football program, just like how they're good in basketball. So, Big B, who's your pick to win between UCLA and Fresno State?
You got to go with Chips Ahoy. So I'll go UCLA. I think it might be a close one. It'll probably come down to which team can stop the other team and which one can capitalize on mistakes. But you gotta go with Chip and his team. I think UCLA is gonna have a good year this year. They should be better than last.
All right. So going back before we move on, let's go back to our comment section. So, and James Gonzalez said Frost is a fraud as well. I have no comment about that. And he says Bama by 21. I definitely agree with that. And he also said Michigan by 30. And I'm like, that's good. I mean, I think Michigan needs to get on a winning track on their winning ways. And I think that they have conference play beginning next week, and they really need to have their A game heading into their game next week against Rutgers. Georgia by 24. And I'm like, that's a team that they should be beating in South Carolina. And he also wanted to add that USC now has a substitute teacher being the head coach. And then he said USC wins, but it's only by 6 against Washington State. And he said, hopefully it's a close game with Fresno State and UCLA. I'll be watching that game right after the Dodgers game during the day on Saturday. So also the MI6 network said Washington State head coach Nick Rolovich could be fired soon since he's not willing to get the COVID-19 vaccine. And the state of Washington mandates that all of their university employees have to be vaccinated. And I'm like, if he doesn't get vaccinated, then then he's probably going to have to get fired. And I think Washington State's going to be getting a new coach by next season. So anyways.
I think the offensive coordinator just got fired too, or he quit because he wasn't willing to get the vaccine. So I would not be surprised if Rolovich is out of a job soon.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So now we're going on to our final topic of the night, and it's involved with my favorite baseball team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. Them and the Giants are neck and neck for that NL West crown. And my thoughts on this is that the Dodgers, they're a team that every year makes the playoffs. And I think they're built. They're way better than what people think because they have the depth, they have good pitching. And I think this team is going to repeat as World Series champs. And they're just a game back of the Giants. And the Padres, however, just beat the Giants today. And the Dodgers remain a game back of the San Francisco Giants. And the Dodgers have a big series against the Reds. But I think the Dodgers will handle them pretty easily, as they should. But I'm not going to underestimate what the Reds do on offense. So anyways, I'm going to start with you, Isaiah. Since you're from the Bay Area, the Dodgers are now one game back. What are your thoughts on the Dodgers clinching the playoffs?
I wasn't surprised because the Dodgers were the prohibitive favorites in the NL and in all of MLB to win the World Series this year. So it's a first step into making that happen, into winning back-to-back championships. So this Dodger team is too talented to miss the playoffs. I never thought that they were going to miss the playoffs at all. For them now, it's about the NL West. And if they can go in and clinch the NL West, steal the NL West from the San Francisco Giants, who have been leading that division for majority of the season, I'm not sure because the Giants, they have a big series this upcoming weekend against the Atlanta Braves. That and plus the Dodgers got the Reds. I could see the Braves taking 2 out of 3 from the Giants and the Dodgers taking 2 out of 3 from the Reds, and then them being tied for that division heading into the final weeks of the season. But I think this is going to be decided in the final week of the season. I don't think it's going to, I don't think any team runs away with it. If I have to say right now, I'm just going to go with the Dodgers because I think the Dodgers are more experienced, they're more proven, and I think the Giants, they have a tough schedule coming up. But, as a Phillies fan, I'm like, the Dodgers got the Reds, the Giants got the Braves. I'm hoping the Giants sweep the Braves and the Dodgers sweep the Reds so that, my Phillies can gain on both the Reds and the Braves in both the division and the NL East.
So you still think the Dodgers are the better team in the National League West, though?
I think so. I think they are. I think that they need to get the division because if you get the wild card, you don't want that since anything can happen. You don't want to play the Cardinals, and we know the Cardinals, anytime they get in the wild card picture, they always pull off an upset. And you look at the Phillies. Look, I know the Phillies are not that good right now, but they do have a high explosive offense with Odubel Herrera, with Gene Segura, with Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, all those guys. They have great players. It's just about the pitching. And sometimes the Phillies pitching shows up, and sometimes their pitching doesn't show up. And if you run into a situation where they do show up and you got Bryce Harper getting red hot, JT Realmuto doing his thing, Segura, Didi Gregorius, everybody doing their thing, like, you don't want that one-game wild card, and anything can happen in that baseball game.
And what about you, Big B?
It's going to come down to a battle. I mean, it's been a battle all year. I mean, San Diego's kind of fallen off, but, I mean, the Giants have come out of nowhere. You got the Dodgers that have, 280-plus runs scored more than giving up. I mean, I wouldn't even be worried about the wild card because you could throw any one of those aces out there for the Dodgers. And, I mean, yeah, it's a one-game winner-take-all, but if I'm the Dodgers, we're in the playoffs. I'm not worried about it. Yeah, you want the top seed. The only thing I'd be worried about is a game 163 before the wild card if this comes down to the Giants and Dodgers. Because now, if you get the 163, now it's all or nothing for the top spot, and then you got to go all or nothing for the playoffs. You're going to burn up a couple decent starters there. So they either, got to play for the wild card or they got to play for the division. Don't hope that, I mean, as a fan, I'd like to see the 163 game, but if you're a Dodgers fan, you want that top spot. So you got to start hoping that I think they play another 5 games against each other. I think the Dodgers and the Giants are, so it might come down to that series alone, where it goes. But yeah, I think Isaiah's right. It's going to come down to the last few weeks, and it would not shock me one bit if we got a 162 for the top spot and the wild card spot. So we'll see what happens.
All right, let's go back to our comments. So James Gonzalez said, it's such a bad scheduling to not have the Dodgers play the Giants again this regular season. I mean, I would like to play them one more time if there was a game 163. I think it could go to that, but I really want to see how the last 2 weeks of the regular season really winds down here. And then on the MI6 network comment, they said, Isaiah, these rumors Joe Girardi might not be brought back to the Phillies next season. Do you have any comments on that?
If this is true, the Phillies are absolutely stupid because Joe Girardi is not the problem in Philadelphia. I mean, this guy, he's doing the best.
It's the right fielder.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing the best with what he can work with. It's not his fault that the bullpen goes up there and gives up like a gazillion runs a night and can't save a game to save their lives. So it's not his fault. He's a good manager. He's a guy that, won a World Series. He can manage personalities in the locker room. He can manage great bullpens. We've seen in the past. And if the Phillies fire him just because they don't make the playoffs in the end, I think that would be a really stupid decision because who are you going to replace him with? Like, who right now are you going to replace Joe Girardi? Are you going to bring in a bench coach from like the Giants, or are you going to bring in someone else that's like a guy that's never been a manager? We've already seen how that worked out with Gabe Kapler.
I'll let Bryce Harper do it.
What?
Let Bryce Harper do it.
Yeah, let Bryce Harper manage. Exactly. It's his team anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think I just don't. What my perspective is on that, I don't think Joe Girardi is going to get fired. I think he's the right fit for the Phillies. I just think that the Phillies just got to get proper pitching. They got to improve on their bullpen in the offseason. I just don't think their lineup is the problem.
Unless Bob Melvin becomes available from the A's, then maybe you can discuss getting rid of Girardi. But other than that, like, there's really nobody out there that would be better than Girardi. I mean, you're going to replace him with what? Buck Showalter, the former Orioles manager, or John Gibbons from the Blue Jays, or even John Farrell. I don't think those guys would be good.
Absolutely not.
I mean, if Philly let him go, I mean, they must have somebody that they really like in the minor league system to brought up because, I mean, the guys Isaiah just named, I wouldn't take, but again, I wouldn't take La Russa and look what he's doing in the White Sox organization. So, yeah, you don't let Girardi go unless you got plan B behind him.
All right. So, anyways, before we get to Final thoughts. James Gonzalez says robot managers needed in MLB. That's not going to happen, though. So anyways, folks, it's been a great show. I started this show hosting it alone. I thought I was going to make it alone, but surprisingly, the Asian Skip Bayless and Big B came on because they wanted to hop on and fill in for Callan. I'm going to say, Callan, I'm hoping that I keep your seat warm and that when you come back, I can't wait to co-host this show with you. So it's been a great show, everyone. And those who are watching, it is time for some final thoughts. Also want to say that tomorrow on the MI6 network, I will be back with you all tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk with my guy, the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong, and Adam Barber. And we'll go from there. And also the Extra Point will be happening on Sunday at 12 a.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Pacific. Looking forward to a great weekend of shows on the MI6 network. And also I'm looking forward to what this weekend holds in sports, especially good college games this weekend, along with the Dodgers playing the Reds. It's going to be a fun series, but I think the Dodgers have the better of the Reds. And I'm looking forward to seeing Mac Jones go up against Zach Wilson. So, Isaiah, what are your final thoughts on the show?
It was a great show. I want to thank James Gonzalez. Let's see. I think James and Casey King also tuned in to our show tonight. Really, really appreciate all of you guys for tuning in to our program. Loro, I want to thank you for holding it down tonight. You know, you were great doing the solo portion of the program tonight. Big B, I also want to thank you for hopping on to the program tonight. But it was a great show. Had a lot of fun talking football with all of you guys and baseball as well. But my final thoughts would be, you know, I'm really thrilled that the Phillies won today. I thought they were going to lose. They were down 7-0 after the third inning. And then I turned off the TV and then I went to do other stuff. And the next thing I know, the Phillies take an 8-7 lead in the fourth inning. So it was an improbable win. It was a great win for the Philadelphia Phillies. And I'm looking forward to that series next week between my Phillies and Ace's Atlanta Braves. That's going to have huge implications for the NL East, because if Philadelphia goes in like to that series with down either 3 games or 2 games, they have a realistic shot of taking that NL East from the Atlanta Braves, because I think whoever wins that series is going to win the NL East, in my opinion.
And what about you, Big B? What are your final thoughts?
Thanks for letting me join in. I'm always glad to talk about sports with anybody, really. And, you know, my final thoughts are, Isaiah, like James said, get a glove. I also want to see Isaiah actually limit his sports teams to maybe a couple in each league instead of half the league would be nice, because that's all I hear is my team this, my team that. So, you know, limit your teams down a little bit. And Isaiah, when you're talking with Asa and you guys talk about your rivalry with Phillies and Braves, got to bring up Will Smith, the greatest closer ever. That'll get Ace going. So
I hope he comes in for all 3 games against the Phils.
Oh, if it's close, he will. So,
all right. So before we end the show, don't forget that until Callan McClurg is not fulfilling his media commitments, I will be filling in for Callan McClurg for a while on the night shift. So be sure to tune into the next night shift show next Thursday at 9 p.m. Pacific time, as we will be recapping week 3 of Thursday Night Football between the Panthers and the Texans. And then we'll be talking about our week 3 takes. So for the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong, and then Big B Brandon, my name is Loro, signing off for now. Don't forget to tune in to Wild Sports Talk tomorrow at 6:10 with myself, Isaiah Leong, and Ace Adam Barber. And then also don't forget to tune in to the Extra Point with myself, Isaiah Leong, and Ben Kirsch on Sunday night as well, right after Sunday Night Football, to recap week 2 and then preview Monday Night Football. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. That was a good show, man.
Yeah, good. I'm glad I was able to jump on. I know it's hard to do a show solo. So I mean, you got to do what you got to do. I think he held it good, and it was better that we got in. So, but hey, I got to check out. So talk to you later this week. If not, definitely see you on Sunday. So talk to you later, bud.
Talk to you later. Thank you.